Welcome to the Draftstars AFL show with Smatho and Roody.
With thanks to Draftstars and to Daily Fantasy Rankings, this is the bonus episode of the Draftstars AFL show. Round 17 Friday night action. It's the Swans and the Bulldogs. $75,000 prize pool, $500,000 AFL Live final tickets up for grabs. Smatho's back with Roody. Roody's we are recording on a Thursday night, so he's got one eye on the D's, one eye on the stats here for tonight. Roody, thanks for joining me, mate. How are you?
No. I'm focused on the show, Smatho. I'm focused on the show. My D's are playing. Apparently, some of them aren't playing that well, though. If you could stop turning the ball over, Melbourne. Jesus, stop turning the ball over. But no, let's get to it, and so I can watch the second half. That'd be nice.
Fair enough. All right, so here we are. So it's a 7:50 p.m. start at the SCG. Look, they've had a bit of rain this week, as we might have seen over the TV screens, but the conditions seem to be okay for this particular game, and I'm sure the ground will hold up pretty well. As for the team changes, the Bulldogs have brought in Richards, Mitch Hannon, and Tim English after his concussion for a couple of weeks. Out goes Crozier, Jordan Sweet, Rob McComb, and Tim O'Brien. As for the Swans, a couple of ruckmen have come in. Joel Almardi and Peter Laddams come in for Tom Hickey, who's crook. Logan McDougall has been omitted, which is a bit of a surprise. And obviously Ryan Clark was the sub as well. So let's just talk about those two rucks for the Swans, and that's going to confuse your ruck choice this week, or does it make it much clearer?
Yeah, it's interesting. Hickey being ill doesn't help, but Logan McDonald being omitted, I think is a bit of a surprise for me. I thought he'd been showing a bit of form, or not form, but signs of that he should just keep playing. You know what I mean? A lot of those key forwards, as we know, do take a lot of time to develop, but you got to play them. Got to play him. So anyway, so Laddams comes in. I'm a big fan of Laddams in fantasy, but he does get. Am I about to say this? He does get a tough matchup against English. Never did I think those words would come out of my mouth, but Tim English at 15,000, Smatho. 15 tonight is a lot to pay. We'll discuss that in a minute. The two key. So Armady will probably play forward with Logan McDonald coming out. And then give a bit of a pinch hit. But don't forget Sam Reed's there as well, who can also do a bit of rucking. So maybe Armady just stays forward the whole time. Who knows? So over to the other side, out goes Crozier, Sweet, McComb, and O'Brien. In comes Richards, Hannon, and Timmy English, as we mentioned. Mitch Hannon, good to see him come back. I like the way he plays the game and hasn't really been a fantasy scorer traditionally, so not much to look at there. Ed Richards will go to that wing half back role. Just to point out, Smatho, we know, and we'll get into this in a moment, we know that the Bulldogs just can't keep key forwards down, but let's look at their tall defenders tonight. We've got Gardner, Keith, and Shaki. That's it. Those are the tall forwards. Richards can play tall. He's taller than you think he is. But Dale and Williams aren't great lockdown defenders. So really, I think the stage is set for one, if not, Reed and Franklin. But I think we can. This could be the buddy show. This could really be a buddy show. I think he's been in decent form, buddy. And it all sets up pretty well for him tonight.
Yeah, you have banged on about Bulldogs' key defenders just can't keep the key forwards down. And also, the Swans do have a couple up their sleeve this week. Now, also, we share our thoughts here on the Draftstars AFL show every week, and we also use the tools here at Daily Fantasy Rankings. I like to always reference the points against tool on the site, which is also free to use. And also, there's a couple of points straight away that can back up your arguments here, Rudy. So we talked about the backs here for the Bulldogs. They're leaking points there. 95 to premium backs in the last 5 for their top 3. So if you want to, target the premium Sydney backs, you can back it up there with the data. Both teams are pretty stingy in terms of the midfield. So obviously the Bulldogs are dead last there. So if you think about stacking a Sydney midfield stack, you just have to pray that the data go against them. There's your forwards as well. So the Bulldogs back you up again there, your top 3, 89 the last 5 there for the Bulldogs. So again, your arguments are starting to get pretty valid here. And in terms of the rucks, Sydney have had an absolute atrocious time with opposition premium number one ruck says. Look at that, 102 fantasy points per game the last 5. So, the tools are going to make your arguments look pretty great. So they're available at dailyfantasyrankings.com.au. Look for the data tool section and you'll be on your way there. All right, Roody, let's talk about this particular game. What's your thought on strategy? Straight up, what are you thinking?
Strategy. I think the first thing to mention about this one is it is at the SCG. SCG games can give us some really high scoring fantasy performances, especially from inside mids, backmen as well. One kick and you're in. The ground is small. It's the smallest ground I think in the AFL. So fantasy stats. Those outside runners don't have as much ball as they do normally. So you're looking at your inside midfielders, forwards, and then maybe, looking at a couple of those backs who can get a bit of that free ball across the back line as they chip around and then just blast it forward. In terms of who's going to win, this is a tough one. I thought the Bulldogs were back in town. Then they had another little bit of slip up. Swans, you know what they're going to give you. They are just consistent. I think hopefully this will be quite a contested game. That's what I'm hoping for at least. And that without giving too much of my team away. But let's get into the rucks.
All right. So Timmy English there, 15,340 returns after his concussion. Obviously, his form is up with the best of the league this year. So, one score on the 95 in his previous 9 games there. Gets a plum matchup against these Sydney makeshift rucks who can't just stop.
I wouldn't call Laddams a makeshift ruck. He's maybe not a standalone solo ruck, but he's decent. He's a big lad and he's definitely more mobile than most ruckmen. He's not as mobile as English himself, but I don't know, Timmy's price is 15, just makes it really hard, especially if you want to stack these Bulldogs mids, as most people usually want to do. You can maybe, if you pay all the way down, you can get a couple in, but it's going to be tough. The one I want to make mention of, Smatho, is Sam Reid. If we're going for our key forward against the Bulldogs pattern, which I do love to do, I think you can get a decent return out of Sam Reid. Throw in he will. I think it will be Reid that gives the second ruck option. But even if he doesn't do the second ruck and he just stays in the forward line more, fine, great, more opportunities to score. So what do you think about his ownership? I don't think he's a sneaky play. Just that price point. A lot of people go to the 10 and say, I don't mind that price point, but because he has the dual status, I think he might be more popular than he normally would be. Josh Shackey will, I think, play in the back line. I think he has to, just because of their outs. They're a little bit undermanned. So, we went back to the Shack attack last week again, and it didn't quite stack up, unfortunately. So recency bias says that he might be a bit lower than he has been traditionally, but I think if you're choosing between Shackey and Armady, you'd probably go with Shackey. I just think that defensive role, few marks across the back line might help him get closer to value than Armady, who will rely on goals. But again, if he is a key forward, the pattern is there. So for me, I think, and like I said, Laddams I do like. I think I will, Reid over Laddams. English, if I can fit him in, those would be my priorities.
Okay. Yep. No, that sounds a very sound argument there for us. And I like your replay. I wouldn't put a figure on in terms of ownership, but I wouldn't expect over 30%. Maybe
and just the virtue that there are 5 options, means that it will be lower than if there were less, obviously.
Yeah. All right. So for defense, still no Caleb Dent. We know he's going to be out for a few weeks. And also we caught some data last week without him. So Ballydale had a price increase at 14,330, which was to be expected. He 117 points is pretty good from old Bailey there. Josh Lloyd is still hanging around that sub $13,000 mark.
Yeah, Josh Lloyd. How many points do you get for a podcast for Josh Lloyd?
For Josh Lloyd or Jakey. I just call him J Lloyd. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
12,770. Blakely seems to Blakey. Now you've rattled me.
Yeah.
How about Nick? He's 11,750. He's starting to yo-yo his fantasy output there. So there's a 67 and 46 in his last 3 games there. And then obviously Justin McInerney is there at 10,180. So look at that. That's only what's that? 4 players, and all of a sudden we're sub 10K in the defense. And then obviously I said, look, we might have to start targeting premium Swannies guys. So is there a bit of value in your Lloyd and your Blakey at 11.7, 12.7?
Yeah, it's interesting. I have some ownership of Lloyd and McInerney in some dynasty leagues, and Lloyd has just been all over the shop. He has scored a little bit better at home. His home stats have been a little bit better this year than away. His price point is still excellent, I think, considering his historical ceiling. So I think he will be quite a popular play. Blakey, I've never been completely on the Blakey train. He's been really highly owned in Draftstars since probably middle of last year when he started improving, obviously. And McInerney for me has been the real disappointment from a fantasy output. I thought he had a kind of a breakout season last year, and he's been disappointing. So look, I think that if you do want to play English and if you do want to kind of fit a couple of the expensive midfielders, you're going to have to go down. Williams and Richards are options with kind of similar. So Williams probably has a higher ceiling than Richards. Florent burnt me last week. I went point hunting on Florent and really got badly burnt, which hurt me on that slate. I'll skip over McCartan and Keith. I don't think the points will be there for them. But two people who I'm interested in, Dane Rampy. Click on his last few scores from this Smatho. And across the last 5 games, we've got 65, 50, 67, 65. Not bad for just a 7K. It has a bit of confidence, bit of run back in his legs recently. And the other one who has probably been a bit disappointing for season-long dynasty types is Braden Campbell, all the way down at 6'2". Now, if you just go to his game log and go back to the beginning of the year, he hasn't been great recently, but 49, 66, 51, 88. That's not bad for 6K. Definitely Campbell and Rampy, pair them together. That'll be a really good pay down kind of combination. But I think that you have to have stakes of Bailey Dale as well, just in that prime ball mover role with no Caleb Daniel around.
Yep. No, I have to agree.
If I keep on going like this, it's because the footy's back on.
Right. Yeah, I have to agree. Like, if you can get to Bailey Dale, I reckon it's a very, very solid play. If not, look for some value in your Sydney blokes. Maybe if you can find a second Bailey Dale-ish guy in the cheap guys down here, then you've done well as well. Let's move on to the mids. Dunkley still top of the pops there at 16,410. I'm still waiting for Jack McRae at 15.7 to go above him, but it just doesn't seem to go his salary above him. But Tom Liberatore's salary at 14,950 is certainly caught up. Gone the days where he was like 10, 11K. Look at those scores there. So that's why he's just under 15K. They're going up against Callum Mills, who, he must have burned a few last week. 16,130. So the battle of mids, mate. What are you thinking?
Look, I think we say this every single Bulldogs slate, and then the opposite happens. You don't try and jam them if you don't want to. There are some. I almost think that it's not even that much point talking about, the differences between them anymore. Dunkley, McRae, Libba, Bont. It's as simple as that. Libba, I think, is my favourite play there with McRae. I'm going to try and target a few guys just below that. If you just go down a little bit, Luke Parker, I think, will be under-owned. And also, I think that Chad Warner is someone who has taken a real step up this year. And at 13-4, I don't mind that at all. Golden has been had a really good year, but he's struggled really to push through that 100 barrier. So going to give him a bit of a miss tonight. As who's bloody Gary Rowan lining up for goals. And then we've got these kind of mid-price plays. Hunter, not keen on. Rowbottom just doesn't seem to have the role because Chad Warner's gone above him. So Rowbottom kind of stuck back in no man's land again. Papley's, they've thrown him in the mix for a few CBAs last couple of weeks, so I think that is a very good option, but I'll probably play him in my forward line rather than in my midfield. And then Dylan Stevens is also someone who's been a decent value option the last couple of weeks. But I think you're better off paying down in the back line and trying to squeeze in some studs there.
Any love for any of the mid-table guys? Lockie Hunter, you said no. Trelaw, we haven't talked about. 14,280.
I just think
last
for,
week,
for
3 weeks.
For 5-6 more, just go to Libba, or Bond.
Yep.
Bonds
there. Yep.
Trelaw is kind of stuck in a high forward line at the moment, not really seeing the CBAs that he was maybe a month ago. Trelaw's down on my list at the moment.
Fair enough. Okay, so the next available place now is Aaron Norton. We always seem to talk about the astronaut there, 11,160. His ceiling, we haven't seen a 100-point game from him, apart from 102 earlier this year. Seems to have a nice, good floor there at 11,160, but you are paying the price there. Then we go for Heaney. Franklin, you're keen on at 10,940. I think he might be actually highly owned at that particular price. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, he'll be highly owned. Although the fact that we've got some deep dual position players like Papley and the Rucks might mix it up a bit. But I think Franklin is a great play. Don't really care about his ownership because you can get different somewhere else. So Franklin, it's as much as I think he is going to play really well. What's his ceiling? What's his absolute ceiling these days? Is it a 90 or can he go above a 110? Let's be honest, he's got a kick at least 6 or so, and then take about 9 marks to go above that really amazing, 110, 120 game. So I don't think he's got a massive ceiling. So if you wanted to fade just on that yes, he might kick a bag and get an 80, but you could try and put some midfielders in there instead, or pay down and try and get a bit of an edge on the field.
Have a look at his free kicks against there. He gets a lot of free kicks for, so if he can get 4 or 5, I mean, it's 1 bonus point, but you just never know. You never know. As we scroll down here, Will Hayward's at 9-1, Anthony Scott at 8-3. There's a lot of guys that just get the dual position here. Cody Waitman seems to be dead at 7,660. Maybe another week of recovery with his elbow might mean he'd pop up. Tough up the SCG, though. Not much space there, so... even the cheap guys, Dominic, did all right for a 43 last week at 6K, so his price doesn't move.
I do like the way you just completely ignored his surname then. You were going to, you hesitated for a second, and then you just ignored it.
Bendendino. Bendendino. I don't know. And then you got Jamara. Well, Jamara is known by his first name. He's at 6,000. Look, those 2 scores there, they're going to suck a few people in, aren't they?
Yeah, look, definitely. I think of those players, the forwards that I'm probably the most keen on, down the bottom. Do we get sucked into Riley West again? I think why not? 7-6 last 3 games, 74, and that massive 112. But then last week wasn't too bad. I mean, people were searching for the 112 again. Clearly that wasn't going to happen. But 65 at 7-6 isn't bad. I think, like I said, you can – the 2 ways I would play the forward line is I would go Papley, Franklin, or I would go to one of these cheaper guys and then try and squeeze in a really star-studded midfield, I think. I will be going for a stars and scrubs kind of lineup in this slate.
Okay. Any final thoughts before you bring out your stars and scrubs team?
No, I just trying to see how many of the midfielders I want I can squeeze in and have Team English at the same time. So I'm just gonna might be one that's a little bit on the move. This team, just try something different, Smatho. You know, got to give the people what they want.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's start with Timmy English. He's available as a forward as well. So he's available as a ruckman. He's there at 15,340. In defence, who are you after?
In defence, I believe I will go for Rampy, and I'm also going to go for Dale if I can.
Back to Bailey. Right. In your mids?
Mids, I'm going to go with Dunkley, Libba, and Chad Warner, please.
Okay, you're leaving not much cash here.
No, I'm not. Like I said, this is going to be one that's on the fly a little bit this team. Let's see what I can do.
I'll have to take one of your mids out.
Yeah, you're going to have to. Damn it. I won't be able to go. Damn. Yeah, okay, let's go to the back line. Let's take out Dale. And instead of Dale, give me Braden Campbell. So I'm going to go down there, and then I can get back up to Bont. Yeah, cool. All right, here's what we're going to do, Smatho. We're going to go. And I didn't have Team English. Don't want to. I can't fit him. Can't fit him. No. No, you assumed. You never asked me. Actually. Okay, Dunkley, Liver, and Warner, and chuck in Bont as well, please.
Yes.
And then put in a Franklin and Ben Dominic.
The Dom. Let's put the Dom in. All right.
Sorry,
so those all right, so those who are just listening to us and thinking, what the hell has happened here? Let me go through your side. So Lance Franklin and Dominic is your forwards. Josh Dunkley, Tom Liberatore, Chad Warner, Marcus Bontempelli is the mids. Dane Rampy and Braden Campbell is your defenders. And Sam Reid is your ruckman. So as you just saw then, getting Team English and a stack of midfielders is not going to work. So that's probably and also Bailey Dale as well. So there's three kind of paths that you can have already. So, but obviously Roody's gone down the mids path, and hopefully that will pull through him for this week. All right, Rudy, that's the end of our double episodes. We're back into round 18 single Friday night stuff until the rest of the season.
I cannot believe it's round 18 already. It's absolutely crazy. Like, seriously. Spend all the waiting for footy season, and then it's gone before you know it.
Yeah,
we'll be doing it down the line, Melbourne. Stop bombing it down the line. Jesus. We do it every week.
Maybe just get on the AFL side and start doing predictive ladders, because you can start doing those now with 5-6 rounds to go. And find out where you can land. All right, so Rudy and I will be back Thursday for the live stream at 8:30 p.m. for our round 18. Make sure you flick us a bit of a like on the videos or the podcasts that you listen to. Looking forward to next week, Rudy. Thanks for jumping in for these double ones. They've been great to do, and I look forward to seeing you next week, mate.
Thanks, mate. Go D's.
Yeah, go D's. See you later, mate.
See ya.